What is color contrast? Color contrast has to do with the relationship between colors and their perceived visibility. In the context of accessibility, it is advised that the content creator use high contrast color combinations to avoid any potential issues with reading or visibility. For example, black print on white backgrounds or white print on black backgrounds are high contrast color combinations. Students who are colorblind can potentially have issues with low contrast color combinations. Here are some examples of color contrast in a table within Microsoft Word. This first example shows low contrast color combinations that may cause issues with some readers. Here's the same example, only in black and white. Here's a similar example with a slightly higher color contrast combination. This still may prove to be a bit difficult for some users. Here's the same example in black and white. This example is more acceptable. The contrast is high enough between colors for readability. Here's the same example in black and white. It should be noted, however, that colors should not be used for conveying information. For example, using a bright red to gain a reader's attention. Red-green colorblind students will only see a different shade of gray. If you wish to still use color in your document, please take note by how it may be perceived by colorblind students. Alright, now let's talk about fonts. Believe it or not, even the fonts you use can have an effect on whether or not your documents are accessible. With so many devices out on the market, there are more operating systems being used between desktop, laptop, tablet, and cell phones than ever before. There are, however, fonts that are used mutually across all of these platforms. Here is a list of accessible fonts that are found on Windows, Mac, Chrome, Linux, and various tablet and cell phone devices. This concludes the video lesson for color contrast and fonts in Microsoft Word. If you have any questions, my contact information is found on the front of the class page on Beachboard. Thank you for watching.